This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
For your information, we have an update on the mumps situation in the Hazleton Area School District. Hello again, and thanks for watching FYI here on SSPTV. I'm Ken Cara. Last week, we told you about the actions taken by the Hazleton Area School District in response to one suspected case of mumps at the Drums Elementary Middle School. Today, Lisa Sugar gets an update with school officials on the situation.
Today, an update on the status of that suspect case of mumps in the Hazleton Area School District. Pleased to be joined by Dr. Francis X. Antonelli, the Superintendent of Schools, and also Mrs. Ellen McBride, a registered nurse and the chair of the Hazleton Area School District's Health Department. Dr. Antonelli, I'm going to start with you. We had one suspect case at the Drums Elementary Middle School. Has it been confirmed?
No. Currently, it is a suspected case of mumps. But again, the Pennsylvania Department of Health is advising us to treat it seriously as if it were in fact confirmed.
Now, you had to have some students stay home because of this, including the student that was impacted. So tell us how many students are affected by it.
Correct. On the onset, we had 20 students who were not immunized. We had 9 lacking either MMR shot. We had an additional 11 who only had the first shot and not the booster shot. So we had a total of 20 that were not properly immunized. Out of those 20, 5 since last Friday have been immunized and have in fact returned to school. So the number now is at 15 that are currently out of school until they are immunized or for a period of 26 days. That's the option for the parent.
And what has the reaction been, I guess, from parents who received a letter from the district because you informed the parents that this was going on?
They've been very appreciative of the fact that we have been proactive in addressing the issue and very appreciative of Mrs. McBride and her department, the health department, staying on top of the issue.
Well, we'll turn to Mrs. McBride right now. Mrs. McBride, something like this happens because not everyone, for whatever reason, chooses not to be immunized. So how serious of a situation is this?
Mostly in our schools, the majority, in fact, more than the majority, are immunized. But you have those that can sign off on a moral, religious, or medical belief. And those are the ones that we worry about when there is a case of any kind of communicable disease. Those are the ones that we worry about because they do not have the antibodies from the immunizations. Then you have those that are coming in that have their first shot and the Department of Health lets them in. And you can give them, the Department of Health says you can give them up to 8 months to get that second shot unless something like this happens. And then if something like this happens, we need to send them out to get that second shot.
And we were talking just before we started this interview. None of us remember ever having a case of mumps.
I remember when we were small children, but we haven't had it since the MMR has begun. And then there was controversy over the MMR that went back and forth, and so then people decided not to take it. And then now as a result, there are clusters of measles down in the Amish area, and now we have a case of mumps here. So we really like to see our students immunized so that it doesn't get into more problems, more serious problems.
Do you think maybe this will be a wake-up call for some people that maybe didn't realize the severity of problems that could occur?
Right. I've gotten a lot of phone calls that, they want to know if their students, even if they're in McAdoo, should they, they're waiting for their second shot. And it's piqued their interest. So I'm hoping that this, kind of gives them that little bit of shove to say, okay, well, maybe we should look into this a little bit further.
Well, anyway, some good coming out of the situation that is upon us. Dr. Antonelli, if anyone has any questions or concerns about the situation, where do they call?
They can certainly call my office or they can call Mrs. McBride's office at the Hazleton Area High School, and we would be glad to address any concerns or questions they may have.
All right. Very good information.
Sometimes they like more information. The school district, they don't feel gives them all the information. So in the letter, I've given them the Department of Health telephone number, 826-2071. They can always feel free to call the Department of Health.
All right. Very good information to keep you up to date on what is transpiring, but the Hazleton Area School District doing its best to keep everyone informed.
If you want those numbers again, you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/FYI News 13. Meanwhile, some people are asking what a suspected case really means. Well, today, FYI talked with a local pediatrician about the situation. Dr. James Cajano is with the Lehigh Valley Health Network. We asked him to explain what a suspected case is.
A suspected case of anything by the CDC definition means that the information that's presented to the physician when he or she examines the patient suggests that diagnosis. Okay, so when a doctor says, this is my clinical suspicion, it means based on what I heard from the patient, what I found on physical examination, this is what I think is going on. Now, if the laboratory data doesn't support that diagnosis, but the physical examination findings are consistent, then by the CDC definition, it's a suspected case.
Now, we will have much more on mumps and its symptoms later this week with Dr. Cajano on FYI. Hazleton police were called to the 500 block of North Vine Street for a report of a male inside a residence. It happened around 3:30 this morning. Police say that an unknown male entered the residence and took an iPhone before fleeing. The suspect was last seen running on foot towards Alter Street. Anyone with information is asked to call Hazleton police. A 22-year-old Hazleton man is headed to trial. Amir Edwards faces a charge of criminal homicide in the September 11th stabbing death of 27-year-old Zachary Richards at 615 Cleveland Street in the city. He was bound over to court yesterday by Magisterial District Judge Joseph Zola. The case was referred to the Attorney General's office after it was learned that Richards was the brother of Luzerne County Assistant District Attorney. Edwards faces an open count of homicide, meaning he can be tried in court for any degree of murder. A Monterey City man is charged with attacking his girlfriend with a machete. 35-year-old Kenneth Van Horn was arraigned on several charges after he allegedly attacked his girlfriend with a machete on Sunday night. He was committed to Schuylkill County Prison, unable to post $25,000 straight cash bail. In an effort to improve customer service, PennDOT wants to hear from you. You can provide your input via an online survey. According to PennDOT, public feedback will help identify areas where they can improve or develop new ways to interact with people online. The brief survey asked participants to prioritize safety and mobility needs related to areas such as public transit and driver and vehicle services. The feedback will allow PennDOT to develop a strategy to implement enhanced services through online or mobile solutions. You can take the survey now through November 12th by logging on to state.pa.us or .state.pa.us and going to Submit Feedback page. Attention all little ghosts and goblins. Tonight we have information for you from the Freeland Recreation Board. The annual Freeland Recreation Board Safe Trick or Treat will be held this Saturday at 2 p.m. The event is open to all children 12 years old and younger. Coming up next on FYI, it's our weekly Care for Kids segment with Janine Mazur-Kevich. And after that, we'll tell you about a big step a local nonprofit is taking right here in Hazleton.
This is FYI News 13, brought to you by SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
If you're looking to adopt or possibly foster, we have a segment called Care for Kids every Tuesday on FYI, and we focus our attention on certain agencies. We've been focusing on Catholic Social Services, and Neil Alberto is back with us to talk specifically about the services that you provide if someone out there is looking to adopt an infant. So thanks for joining us back on the program.
Thank you so much. Again, it's a pleasure to be here.
So talk about that. When we're specifically looking at adoption for infants, there's a process that the parents need to go through.
Yes, there is. And the infant adoption program is something that really traces itself back to, again, the very beginning of our agency within the diocese. And there is a process for that. You do need to be married to adopt through our infant program. You need to be married for at least 3 years, and for medical reasons not be able to have a child, or for 5 years and no known medical reason be able to have a child. And one of the things through the infant program is that you also cannot have children between the two of you as husband and wife. And we do that primarily because we had so many individuals who came to us seeking adoption through the infant program. And we actually, at least 20 years ago, and that was one of the changes, we had talked last week about that, but changes within the system, we actually did allow through the infant program. But because we had so many people that were childless couples, we limited that to one per family.
When, just by doing these segments and learning about this and the process of what agencies you can actually go through, whether it be Luzerne County or an agency like Catholic Social Services, most people out there, popularity is that they do want an infant.
Yes, I'd have to agree with that. The newborn, always wanting that newborn or that child right from the very beginning. And with the infant program, they are provided that opportunity, and we work very closely with potential birth families who might be considering adoption as an option, and that's something we would promote with birth parents. And we want to make sure when we speak with birth parents that that's something they're very sure of. We never force anyone into making that decision. We want to work very closely with them. And one of the changes that has taken place as well is openness now in adoption. At one time, things were very, very closed. No one knew of anything that was going on between either party. Right now, with some of the changes in the system, there is that opportunity to maintain some type of a connection, which we promote that.
All right, anyone needing any more information on the infant adoption process through Catholic Social Services can give the agency a call. Next week, we are going to focus on adopting an older child, a teenager. They're out there. They do actually need loving homes as well. So we're going to focus our attention on adoption for older children here on FYI.
Time now for FYI News 13 weather.
The cold weather is coming. Go stock up on hot chocolate right now, and we'll have to bundle up for football games this weekend, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Today was a nice day, so let's take a moment and appreciate it. Here's our local forecast from the National Weather Service. Tonight, there's a 20% chance of showers after 11 p.m. The low will be 53 degrees. On the extended forecast, Wednesday, 50% chance of showers, mostly before 4 p.m. The high will be 59 degrees. Starts to get real cold on Wednesday night. Partly cloudy. The low will be 38. Thursday looks nice, mostly sunny, high of 50. Again, cool at night. The low will be 36 degrees. And then on Friday, it really starts partly sunny. The high will be 48. And then at night, 30% chance of rain and snow showers. The low will be 30. And then look at Saturday. The high will be 38 degrees during the day, partly sunny at night, partly cloudy. The low will be 27. You just watched Janine's weekly Care for Kids segment all about foster care and adoption. That segment started a while back by talking about Brandon's Forever Home, a local nonprofit that raises awareness for foster care and adoption. Well, now Brandon's Forever Home has a new home on Church Street in Hazleton. Co-founder Lori O'Gurkis tells us more.
We are trying to reach to the next step, and we really needed to have a home to operate out of. The past 3 years we've been operating out of our home, our private residence, and the amount of items and belongings and work that we're doing from our house has been overwhelming, and has gotten to the point where it's grown that we really do need a place where anybody can come at any time. A child in crisis can receive goods at any time or services. And we have a great network of friends that we've been working with these past 3 years that we all decided it's about time that we do something and bring it to the next level to help children in need in our community. We really need some more people to really get involved to help us to commit financially. We do have an accepted offer on the home. We intend to close within 45 days, but we're all doing it voluntarily. There isn't any one person in this foundation who is, quote unquote, say, taking the hit for this house, because there's so many people who believe in it and see the work that it's going to be able to do to affect change so that children in foster care are perceived differently. You know, the house is grand, but it's grand for a purpose so that foster children who come into care and into crisis have the stability of this house, have the joy of this home. So while things are always changing in their home life, foster care system, the educational system, they'll always be able to access this home and be able to receive whatever they need. So we are still looking for additional financial supporters in order to get to the finish line. You know, it really is going to take a community. It's a community problem. It's going to take a community solution to fix it. But I do know that every step and every minute of the way of even getting to this point, other people just step up and say, you know what, Lori, I can do this, or I can do this. And it's happening easy, and it's happening so fast because of people's good hearts.
If you would like to help out, you can go to brandonsforeverhome.com or you can call Lori at 570-926-5117. The Laurel Mall has pretty much everything: clothes, DVDs, cards, cell phones, creatures of the night. Let me explain that last one. Tomorrow night is Halloween at the Laurel Mall. It's a live educational program being hosted by the Pocono Wildlife Rehabilitation and Education Center. That's where you will see creatures of the night, including owls. So that's cool. Plus there will be candy and you can wear your costume. The fun starts at 6:30 p.m. at the Laurel Mall in Hazleton. Another announcement: the Freeland Elementary Middle School wants you to know that their annual Halloween parade will be held this Thursday at 1 p.m. at the school. It was scheduled for Friday but has been moved to the rain date of Thursday, October 30th at 1 p.m. All right, cue the green screen. It's time for the Pennsylvania Midday Winning Lottery numbers. Your daily number, 941. The Big Four, 6580. Quinto, 05994. Treasure Hunt, 3, 11, 18, 23, and 25. Dave Seaman is here a day early because we have so much to talk about this week, including the Penn State-Ohio State game. We'll be right back.
This is FYI News 13 Sports.
You have Dave Seaman, the sports editor of the Standard Speaker, with us, and there's just been so much to talk about. Dave Day has extended several times here on the Sportscast. And Dave, let's talk about what everyone was talking about at the Penn State football game against Ohio State on Saturday night. Of course, it was the Blue Band's halftime performance. Take a look at this shot. They went through most of the shows on TV, and this was Star Trek right here, one of my favorites. And Dave, seriously, the Blue Band did a great job. But what everyone was talking about at halftime, Penn State trailing 17-0, and it was on a blown interception call by the Big Ten officials, and a very interesting play, a field goal, a long field goal, 49-yarder. Definitely a delay of game was not called. And there was a few other calls in this game as well that were interesting. We talked about the leaping penalty against Penn State, and there was a penalty in overtime that cost Penn State some yardage. The Nittany Lions kept fighting in this one, but let's go back to those first two calls. One time the replay did not work for the officials on this interception call.
It's amazing that the equipment that was used for replay was working on Friday when it was checked. It was working before the game, and then when it came down to the beginning of the game when it really was needed, there's a malfunction. And that's something you can't have in big-time college football.
I think it's interesting. You see it happen in other sports, and the Big Ten officials after the game did say, hey, listen, we have to follow the rules. We didn't have the feed. We couldn't make things up. If you just look up at those, and I know it was mentioned before, the HD video boards around Beaver Stadium, you would have saw the play, and maybe that's something for the Big Ten to look into, using in-house feeds or some, and I understand maybe you come into a conflict with you have the home team giving the feeds, but it was right there for everyone to see. The takeaway, Dave, from this game is I thought Penn State did a great job of fighting back. It was the first time in a long while I saw this offense in a rhythm. As you mentioned, there were recruits at this game. I think it's a springboard for the rest of the season.
Not only this season, but in the future, too. I think the recruits that saw the excitement level at Beaver Stadium once the Lions made that comeback, I think that's going to bode well for the Lions in the future. But it doesn't make up for the loss because they wanted that win. I mean, you saw Coach Franklin after the game. He was in tears after the game. So it shows you how important it is. He's in tears for a lot of reasons. One, he wasn't getting the calls, which he believed that the line should have been getting, but he hurts for his players. He knows how much time the players put in, how much the coaching staff puts in, and you get all that effort, and it comes up for naught after you did take the lead in overtime. That's a tough pill to swallow.
This isn't the first time it's happened to Penn State. I could think back to Michigan games and several times, and a lot of Penn State fans are taking note of this.
Yeah, but you got to look at the big picture, too. The big picture is, yeah, there's going to be calls during the course of a game, the course of a season, that go against your team, not necessarily all in one game. Somehow, some way, you got to rally behind that. A few weeks back, Michigan had a bad call against Rutgers too, and Michigan hasn't been able to recover, except against Penn State, of course.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Nittany Lions can bounce back. Still 2 wins away from going to their first bowl in a few seasons. So today is Dave Day Eve. Tomorrow is actual Dave Day, and we'll discuss local cross-country volleyball, and we'll take a look at the high school football playoff picture. Before we take our third and final timeout on FYI, here's tonight's FYI Standard Speaker scoreboard. In 4 sets, the Lady Cougars knocked off Wyoming Valley West to move on to the District 2 AAA championship game against North Pocono. Dave and I will talk about that matchup tomorrow. The 2 teams will play for the title tomorrow night at North Pocono High School. The MMI girls, they lost to Blue Ridge to end their season in the District 2 Single A playoffs. On Tuesday night, the Marion girls volleyball team is back in action against Tri-Valley in the District 11 Single A tournament. The winner will move on to the championship game on Thursday. This game, Marion and Tri-Valley, will be played at Minersville. Okay, now I'm calling our final timeout. We'll be right back. Happy Wing Night. It's Wing Night at Bottlenecks. Get $2 off your order of wings or all-you-can-eat wings and boneless wings for only $14.95. Bottlenecks wings are voted best wings in the area year after year.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's Talk of the Town report. First tonight, Christ Lutheran Church in Cunningham will be holding a vendor craft fair Sunday, November 23rd. It will be held from noon to 5 p.m., featuring a bake sale, homemade food, 25 tricky trays, and, of course, great crafts. All proceeds benefit the church youth group. For info, call 570-956-6500. And finally, the Schuylkill Medical Center will be hosting a Veterans Day breakfast Saturday, November 8th from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. in the Wall Auditorium located on the 3rd floor. Registration is preferred by calling 570-621-5555. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. News 13 would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. Beverly M. Olson of Freeland. Memorial will be held Saturday at 7 p.m. at the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses. Friends may call from 5:30 to 7. The McHugh Wilczek Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. Catherine M. Gorga of Partysville. Mass is Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. in the Good Shepherd Church. Friends may call from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. The Firo Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. Joseph J. Petriliak of Hazel Township. Mass is Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. at the Holy Name of Jesus Parish. The Hillary J. Bonin Funeral Home is in charge of arrangements. And David E. Carroll of Parksville, Maryland. Graveside services will be held Thursday at the Calvary Cemetery. Arrangements are by the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. Attention pay-per-view subscribers, if you see your name right now on News 13, you'll have 13 minutes to call in and win a free movie from Service Electric Cablevision. Our winner tonight is James Tyrone of Hazleton. James, if you're watching, give us a call right now, 570-455-7267, extension 104.
I know it's only Tuesday, but I always like thinking about the weekend. And this weekend on FYI Weekend, I'm working on another sports feature story special for the weekend, so watch out for that. But we still have a few days before getting there, so tomorrow is Wednesday. We'll see you then. Take it easy, everyone.